All right, so hello everyone, and thanks for joining us this morning to talk about Cognigy's latest release, 3.3. I just wanted to start by saying every day I'm presenting Cognigy to a range of people from completely non-technical to the very technical. And the feedback I get repeatedly, particularly from those who already have experience building conversational interfaces, is that we are pushing our platform capabilities further than anyone else on the market. I mean this sincerely. I genuinely believe that if we sat still for the next 4 to 6 months, we'd still be leading the market. But today I'm proud to be part of the announcement of our Cognigy 3.3 release. I know today all of you will see at least a few things that you haven't seen before in any other tool. So let's get started. To present our new platform features, I'd like to introduce Philip Heltevig, our CEO and Head of Product Development. So Phil, take it away.
Thank you very much, Derek. I'm equally excited to present to you today the launch and the new version of Cognigy version 3.3. As Derek said, we've put a lot of thought into this. We've worked with our customers and partners on a daily basis to find out what is it that you need to make your conversational AI experiences even better. And the result of that is Cognigy 3.3. Now on the call, I know there's a lot of people that have worked with Cognigy before, as is common for a product launch, but there's also quite a number of people who might have not seen Cognigy yet. And for those people, we're going to start with a short overview of what Cognigy AI actually is, what you can do with it, and then we're going to jump into looking at the new features that we are releasing with our 3.3 release. So what is Cognigy AI? Cognigy AI is a highly flexible enterprise conversational AI platform to build advanced, integrated conversational automation solutions through the use of cognitive bots. So it is a platform strictly focused on enterprises to build integrated solutions. So conversational AI solutions that don't exist on their own, but that are integrated with existing backend systems like CRMs, ERPs, or other systems. And in the end, it's always about automation, about automating a customer service process or automating an employee services process or any other kind of business process that you can imagine. And we're using cognitive bots to do so. We have one platform that caters to many use cases. Many of our customers are starting with frequently asked questions. So a customer's coming to a website looking for help, and we're offering a conversational interface to make it easy to find that help. But then, as our customers are getting more advanced, they're moving into full process automation, where we're automating the full transaction that the customer is looking for. So say you're looking for opening hours for a branch. Maybe that's an easy FAQ question. When does your branch open? But the bot might ask something back, like, which branch are you talking about? Do you mean the one in downtown or the one in Notting Hill or something like that? And then we can ask questions back and give a better answer afterwards. But then you can move to full process automation, where we can take people through a full transaction, like making a bank transfer, finding a replacement device, looking up a new mobile plan to go on, and then actually booking that plan directly in the conversational interface. In the end, we're doing all of this to deliver better customer and employee service. And we're doing that 24/7 on any channel that the customer chooses to come through. I'm now going to proceed with a quick platform overview. And for that, I want to quickly show you a demo here of our system. So give me a second while I pull that up. So we're going to start with a front-end demo, and many of you that know Cognigy might have already seen that. Right, this is Cognigy Travel Asia. It allows us to book hotels in several cities in Asia. This is a web chat. It could, of course, also sit on the lower right corner. And here we are coming and we say, let's travel. And we're getting a reply from the bot. Where would you like to go? So we're Cognigy Travel Asia. Where would you like to go? Tokyo or Bangkok? We can now use these buttons, or we can use a persistent menu, or we can type in natural language. So maybe I say, Tokyo sounds great. We're now getting hotels in Tokyo. We choose one in this gallery that we like, for example, this one, and it gives us the price. And these hotels, of course, they don't live in the bot, right? These hotels are pulled from an external system in this case a database, where the information about the hotels is stored. Now I'll say, I could say yes or no, or I could say, wow, that is expensive, maybe Bangkok is better. And the bot now gives me some hotels in Bangkok. And I can choose one of those. Hopefully that's a bit of a cheaper one, which this is. It's $92, and it says, do you want to make a booking? The bot's now going to ask me for a couple of data points. When do I arrive? When do I depart? What's my first name? What's my last name? And so on. And what I can do with Cognigy, I can put in many of these data points in a single sentence, and the AI will automatically identify those and pull them out for me. So I can say something like, so do you want to make a booking? Yeah, from tomorrow until next Tuesday. And as you can see, it's not asking me for the arrival date. It's not asking me for the departure date, because it's already figured those out from my sentence. And now I can give it the other data points that we need here. So what's my email address? And do I want to receive emails in the future? Yep. And maybe hotels. And now I get this message, thanks, we'll send you specials for hotels. Thanks, Phil, we booked your stay at the Eastern Grand Hotel Southon for 4 nights for you. Now, when I come back to the bot, and I could emulate that here by typing hi, so I could come back the next day or something, I'm getting a different welcome message than I got before, because now the bot knows me, it has context about me as a user, and it knows my name, it says welcome Phil, and it also already shows me some hotels that I could book maybe again in Bangkok. So what does it look like in the tool? This is the tool, Cognigy.AI, and this is a project in the tool. And we are maintaining the conversational AI is in what we call flows. And here we have such a flow. And this flow is the travel AI that we have just seen. And we can test it here coming in on the right side, and we can actually see where it's going in a graphical fashion. And if I'm a content editor, I can actually go in and just double click elements and then change content directly, just like I could in, for example, a web content management system. So as you can see here, this is a welcome message we saw earlier. It says Cognigy Travel Asia, but what I could do is I could actually type Cognigy Travel APAC, for example, and we can see that this is immediately changing here on the right side, and immediately changing for the people that are then going to visit the bot if I then saved it and published it. We also have a second editor in Cognigy, which we call the process editor. And the process editor is more of a linear if then else kind of thing. So this is where we were asked for the data that we need to put in. When will you arrive? When will you depart? First name, last name, and so on. And then here we have some branching. So if I want to receive specials, I ask this question. Otherwise, I ask that question. So that's just a quick overview of Cognigy AI, and we'll get back to the platform in a second when I show the new features. So summarized, Cognigy AI is a conversational AI platform, and some of the main features are the graphical conversation editor that we just saw in the process modeling tools. Those make it really easy for business users to put together conversational AIs and to maintain them. We allow for backend integration with databases, with CRM systems, with ERP systems, because the data that your bots need does not live in the bot itself. The data actually lives in third-party backend systems, and we can integrate with those out of the box. Cognigy comes with multilingual natural language understanding to understand the sentences that your users are saying. So when I said, wow, that's expensive, maybe Bangkok's better, the NLU works its magic and then understands what that sentence actually means. Our NLU comes in multiple different languages, from English to German over Spanish, Japanese, and many others. Now, we do have graphical editors, but we also have a very powerful coding framework behind all of it. And that's what we call advanced coding tools. You can extend the platform in standard JavaScript. You can code directly in the conversations. You can upload JavaScript modules that you have written into the platform, and you can extend the platform in many different ways. And last but not least, you can deploy Cognigy SaaS or on premises if you like. With that, I want to get to Cognigy.AI 3.3. I want to show you what's new. So as a quick overview, we have these 6 new features prepared here for you. First, we're going to quickly talk about our translated user interface. followed by having a look at our enhanced natural language understanding, which we've significantly upgraded in this release. Then we'll look at the new Webchat. So you already saw the Webchat earlier in the demo, followed by what we call Cognigy tokens, which is a way for non-technical business users to put dynamic content into the chatbots. We're then going to look at advanced processes. How do I build a process from scratch that allows me to interface with backend systems and take a user through an advanced transaction? And then we're going to look at the new enterprise features that we introduced with this release. So the first one is the multilingual user interface. Something that's requested quite a lot from our friends in Japan and other countries. We have taken our English user interface and translated it into Japanese, German, and Spanish, with more languages to come in the near future. Of course, that doesn't mean the English user interface is gone, that is still there, but we now have these extra 3 languages for the user interface that you can toggle on and off in your settings if you like. When it comes to the natural language understanding system, Cognigy NLU, we've gone up a minor version here to Cognigy NLU 2.1. And with that, we have introduced new gold standard machine learning models for English, German, Dutch, Danish, Spanish, Japanese, and now also Mandarin. So we now also support Chinese, which was quite the feat for our natural language and machine learning teams to put that in. We've updated the so-called intent trainer. This is the tool that allows you to train your bot after it's been in production for a while. And we've made that even easier to use to give you even better results and make it even easier to increase the precision of your natural language understanding and of your models that you have in the system. We've also built a dialog flow to Cognigy NLU converter and open source this on GitHub. So you can take your dialog for version 2 intents and with a simple script convert them into Cognigy intents and upload them into the system. Last but not least, we've worked on our date detection and we've put some advanced features into that, so you can say things like day after tomorrow or the day before yesterday, or you can even have typos, or you can say tomorrow's meal with forgetting the apostrophe and so on. And our date detection will not be thrown off, but it will actually still work and still handle these kinds of things. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is our new web chat. Why is the web chat so important? Aren't there much more important channels like Facebook Messenger, Alexa, or Google Home? And the answer is actually no. A lot of our customers are using various different channels. Microsoft Teams, as I said, Facebook, Line Messenger, WeChat, WhatsApp, you name it. But the channel that is being used the most is still the web chat. The web chat that we saw earlier in the demo, where it is placed on a website, either centered or in the lower right corner. Now what we've done is we've taken the web chat that comes with Cognigy and we've completely rewritten it and open sourced it on GitHub. And we've rewritten it in a framework called React. Why that's important, you'll see in a minute. It's ready to use in production on any website and is super easy to integrate. And it comes bundled with a lot of graphical elements. We actually have feature parity with Facebook's chat. So you have galleries, buttons, quick replies, and other things. The things that you also had in the previous web chat, just in a much nicer and much more polished way. Now, the reason why I mentioned React earlier is because we now have a plugin architecture that allows you to create any user interface inside the web chat that you like in this framework called React. And there are reference implementations on GitHub, and we have 2 plugins that I'm going to show you. One is a date picker that we have created, and the other one is a flight seat picker. So when you're booking a flight and you're checking in. The web chat is fully skinnable, including all colors, graphics, and so on, so you can fully adapt it to your CI. With that, I want to give you a quick demo of the web chat and what it actually looks like. And just let me pull that up here. So as I said, the web chat can live centered, like we saw this before, or it can live here in the lower right corner. And that is the view you are used to from most websites. Right, and I just wanted to quickly show that it can live down here. But for the demo, we're going to use a centered web chat because it's just bigger and nicer to see for you guys. So if we look at what the web chat can do, this is Cognigy Travel again, and you can see it remembers me. It says, Phil, how may I help you today? And as you see, I can not just book hotels, but I can also book flights or check in. And This here is what we call a gallery element. So we do support galleries. We also support galleries with only one element. And these here are what we call quick replies. Quick replies can be just textual, or there can be buttons in the quick replies as well. So now I choose check-in, and it says, okay, please select the date of your travel. And maybe I've booked several trips with that system. And when I press select travel date, it opens the date picker that comes with Cognigy. This is also fully skinnable, and it complies to the theme that you're setting for the web chat. You can enable dates, you can disable dates. You can see I've disabled a whole range of dates here. And you can do various things with this date picker, quite advanced. You can set the minimum date, you can set the maximum date, you can set default dates, and much more. And once you've selected one, it then posts this back into your web chat. So I've selected a date. It checks, okay, is there a booking? Yes, there is a flight from Düsseldorf to Bangkok on April 9th. And it now says, well, go select your meal or select your seat or maybe learn more about Bangkok. Now, this is what we call a button template. And we have 3 buttons here. And the lowest button is a URL button. So if I click that, it's going to open a URL, in this case, our website. If I select one of the other buttons, it could trigger what we call a postback. So in this case, it's a select seat. Now, what you're going to see next with this one is a custom plugin that we've written just to show the capabilities of the system. This plugin allows you to pick a seat on an airplane. And again, the configuration of the airplane is actually done directly from within Cognigy. So you can control all aspects of the plugin, the way that things appear and so on, directly from within our system. So we pick a seat and we continue on. Now it's asking us for our preferred meal. We have what we call a list template here, and maybe we pick chicken curry, and it's outputting some HTML now. So we also have HTML elements. This is just a heading element and some text. You can really put any HTML in here that you like. And then we see a gallery element down here again. When I pick one of the gallery elements, this one, for example, triggers a video, and I can play a video directly here in the web chat, and it's playing inline, and I can, of course, maximize it and so on. It is a YouTube video. And then I think we're done here with the with this demo. And again, we have the persistent menu, and we have other functions which are not shown here, like a file upload if you want to upload a resume, or things like speech to text, so you can actually talk to the web chat and will understand what you're saying and putting that in, and speech to and text to speech to then speak out the results to the user again as well. So that is the new web chat, which will hopefully make it a lot easier for you guys to get started. Firstly, for testing purposes, and secondly, to then embed that on your website or, for example, your intranet. And as I said, you can find that web chat on GitHub. It is open sourced, together with all plugins that we've made as well. The next feature we want to talk about are Cognigy tokens. Cognigy tokens are an amazing way for business users to add dynamic content to the chatbot. Previously, you had to write code for that, but now you can use tokens, which are these little blue bubbles you see on the left, to enter dynamic content into a text. So they're essentially like placeholders which you can use in sentences. There are predefined tokens that come with the system, like, for example, all the profile values like first name, last name, and so on, but also the input variables like text, what is the intent that was found, and so on. Now, the nice thing is that under the hood, the tokens are still Cognigy script. So Cognigy script is, of course, a superset of JavaScript. So you can use any JavaScript you want in any of these tokens. And I'm gonna show that in a second. You can transform variables and so on. And you can create these tokens for your users, well, or for yourself. So you can go in and you can create any token. You don't have to rely on the ones that come with the system, and they will then be exposed in your application, and you can use them in any sentences. And the nice thing is they really work everywhere. They work in the flow editor with texts and processes. They work in default replies. They work in conditions. They really work everywhere in the system. And I'm going to show you what that looks like here in a second. So when we look at Cognigy, and maybe we go to this main flow here, we see a flow that really isn't doing much. It just has a say node that says hi. So if I type something, it's just going to reply hi. Now, if we open the say node, we say, maybe we wanted to say, hi, Phil Heltewig, you said X. So I can go in and I can bring up the Cognigy token picker and say, hi, first name. So now if I type SDF, it says, oh, hi, Phil, because that's the profile that I'm logged in with. So here we can add more texts. So maybe we add last name as well. And then we say, you said, and here we add the text that came in. And you can see we have a whole bunch of tokens that already come with the system categorized in different categories like profile and user inputs. We save that, and if I say something now, as you can see, it says, hi Phil Heltewig, you said SDF, because that's what I said, or hi my text. So hi Phil Heltewig, you said my text. Now, as I said, you can use those everywhere. You can use them in, for example, default replies. There's no intent to find here, but I can just quickly show you. So you can use them in default replies here as well, or you can use them in processes, and I'll show you that a little bit later. Every project has a token editor, and in the token editor, you can define new tokens. And as I said, the tokens are essentially Cognigy scripts. So what we can do is we can give the token a name, and now we can write a script. So let's say we want to write a script where full name is actually the first name, a space, and the last name, but we want the last name to be capitalized. So as a super user, we know that the first name is cp.firstname, and then we're adding a space, and then we're adding the last name, which is cp.lastname. But because it's JavaScript, we can actually add any JavaScript here that we like. So we're adding to uppercase, and then we're giving it a scope. This is just for the sorting purposes, and maybe we put this in the profile scope. Now we've created this token, as you can see here. And when we go back to our main flow, we can now go into the say node, and in the say node, we replace the first name, last name with the new one that we have just created. So if I search for full name, here we go. I have now a full name token. And if we try that whole thing out, we're getting hi Phil Heltewig, capitalized, you said DFG. So some really powerful stuff. And it's not just available in texts, but it's also available in, for example, conditions, right? So we could say, okay, if the user's first name is Phil, so we can just say, okay, we search for the first name token. Here we go, and then it's equals Phil. So I can just make a condition like this, and I don't need any coding for this any longer. So I don't need to write JavaScript if I want. We have many different ones. We have contain. So if my first name contains a P, for example, then we could show something, or many different ones. And what we also have is the ability to go back to an advanced editor, which then converts this into JavaScript for you. And then you can use that in JavaScript if that's what you want to do. So that's it about the Cognigy tokens. I think a really nice way for business users to add this kind of dynamic content and to create much more compelling experiences in conversational AI without the need for any code. Now, Cognigy is all about automation. And with automation, we have processes. And the Cognigy Process Editor is the tool of choice for our customers and partners to build these kind of conversational process automation solutions. We've put a lot of work into the Process Editor in version 3.3 to allow even more advanced automation through the conversational processes, which you can now develop with no code at all. In a previous version, you still had to know how to write very simple JavaScript to make conditions. This is no longer the case. You can now use the tokens that we've just seen. And from within these, you can now trigger external systems. You could do that previously as well, but what you can do now is you can define inputs to these external systems, and the external systems themselves can define the outputs they will give you. So if I say something like, find a user in CRM by email address, that could be an action. It needs the email address as an input, and maybe I get contact ID, first name, last name, company as an output, and then I can use those in subsequent process steps afterwards. I'm going to show you how that works. We've added a verbose mode, which allows you to track not just what was answered, but it allows you also to track the exact words that were said in the answer. Because, for example, if I say, do you accept our terms and conditions? And someone says yes, then the answer is passed by Cognigy as true, but the actual answer is yes. Or maybe they said, yes, of course. Then the answer is true. The actual words that were said are, yes, it's true, yes, I do, or yes, it's great. The timestamp is also being tracked, and the question that was asked is also being tracked in the results set. Because even the question with the use of Cognigy tokens could be dynamic, and that way you have a full transcript of the conversation. You know exactly what the user was asked and what they answered, and you can use that for record keeping and compliance purposes. Last but not least, a bot built in Cognigy, of course, doesn't just consist of one process. Usually we're using intents to orchestrate many different processes. So you could have a bot that has 100 capabilities, and each capability is a process. But how do we find these capabilities? Well, we find them through intent mapping. Now, the nice thing in Cognigy is that whilst you're in a process, you could say something that actually takes you to another process. We can check if we want to go to that other process. And after we are done with that second process, we might want to jump back into the first process and continue on from where we left off. And that's what our advanced orchestration allows you to do. And we're using inherited intents to do so. So let me show you a little bit about the advanced processes that we've put into the system and what you can do with it, and how all of this ties together with the Cognigy tokens that I've just shown you in the system. Now here we have a project where we want to build a process which helps our users that have a defective device. So for example, a defective printer. We've worked with one of our customers to look at this process, and they said, well, it would be great if we could easily build that. I said, well, with Cognigy 3.3 you can, so why don't we put that into the demo? So the case is this: I come to work in the morning, I'm trying to print something, and it doesn't work. The printer doesn't work. I'm going to the bot, and the bot now needs to figure out, okay, how can I actually help that person? So we're using intent mapping to find out what process they want to trigger. So if they would say something like, my printer doesn't work or my printer isn't working, then we're triggering this process here. And it could look something like this. So we might type a message first, like, I will help with your printer problem. But of course, it doesn't just have to be a printer. So we'll make this a token with your device type issue. And maybe we need to know the room first that the person is actually in to determine what printer it is. So we'll ask a question. It's a text question. Which room is the, and again, here we can use the Cognigy tokens. Which room is the device type in? And we're storing this as the answer ID room. And now something magical happens. We now need to go and check in a third-party system, well, which printer is in that room. And the way we're doing that is we're using an action. And in this case, we're using an integration with ServiceNow, which allows us to find a device. Now, when we look at this closely, this action has several inputs and it has several outputs. So once it actually finds something, it's going to give us the device, the label of the device, so the name, the ID of the device, and some steps to try and fix the device before we go and order a new one. For different actions, we have different inputs and outputs. So this is a place services order and SAP action that we've also hooked in here. And this needs a device ID, and then it gives you back an order ID. So you can place a services order in SAP. Now going back to this one here, it needs the component type. The component type is the device type that we had all along. And now comes the magic. It needs the room, and we now have a room token as well, because the system knows that the action is coming after the room question. So it knows, okay, now in this part here, the room token also exists. The same now goes for all the outputs of this one. So we could say, okay, does the device actually exist? Do we find a device? So here we could go in and now, oh, all of a sudden we have all these flow outputs. So we say, okay, does the device exist? And if it exists, we're doing something like placing the SAP services order. If it doesn't exist, we are not going to place the order. I think I've brought across the concept of how this works, and I don't want to bore you and show you how I built this whole process. So I've actually pre-built this here. And if we go through, so we're doing the find device, we're checking if the device exists. If it exists, we're saying, well, I found device type, device label, which is the name of the printer. Please try following the steps. Then we're rendering the steps to fix the issue. Has your issue been fixed is a question, yes or no. If yes, we say fantastic, have a great day. If no, we're placing a services order, and then the order ID comes out. And what this looks like can be seen here in this web chat. So if we come in, Phil, welcome to Cognigy IT, how can I help you? And I say my printer doesn't work. Then it comes in and says, okay, Phil, I'll try to help with your printer issue. In which room is the printer located? And maybe we say HR112, which is one of the rooms here. And it now checks in ServiceNow. It comes back. It said, I found printer Dell laser, blah, 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 MFP. Please try to fix it by following these steps. Here we have some remediation steps. And has your issue been fixed? No. And I've placed a services order for you. This is the order number coming out of the SAP system. I hope that I could help you. Please let me know if you need anything else. So what we've seen here is how easy it is to put together a previously rather complex process, and you can put many of those together, orchestrate them through a flow, and really deliver cutting-edge services, not just internal to the organization, but you can, of course, apply the same concepts also to use cases outside of your organization in customer service. Last but not least, we were going to look at some of the enterprise features that we've put in. And the reason why we put this as a last slide is because there were really so many features that we put in, and we didn't want to overload everyone at the start of the presentation already. So let's have a look at some of those. We've included single sign-on for all SAML-based systems, meaning that you can now log into Cognigy, not just using our login form, but also using providers like Okta or OneLogin, or for example, Active Directory, to maintain the user accounts in the systems that you already have and not just within Cognigy. We've also added a blind mode for compliance. This blind mode can be activated within a conversation or for an endpoint, and it will prevent the system from storing analytics data or from storing logging data that could be any type of personally identifiable information. So we will, at some point in the conversation, say you're asking for a social security number or something like that, we will put the blind mode on. No information of this kind will get stored into the analytics or the login. And then once we've left this sensitive stage, we could turn the blind mode off again. We've added advanced login security to first track when did you log in last, where did you log in from, and were there failed attempts. And if there are failed attempts, so if you're trying to log into Cognigy, the system will prevent you from trying to log in for longer and longer periods of time. So say you're putting in a wrong login, you're logged out for 10 seconds. Putting in another wrong logging you out for 30 seconds, and so on. One of the actually most requested feature from the enterprise security teams we're working with. For operations, we've centralized logging, which enables you to monitor your solution centrally within some monitoring and alerting tools that you already have. And you can set up alerting for if certain parts of the system are going down, or if they're underperforming, or if there's heavy load. So all these kinds of things that you're used to from your enterprise applications, you can do here with Cognigy as well. We then have universal contact profile tracking, a feature that allows you to inject information into Cognigy from external systems into the profiles of users stored in Cognigy to then later use this information when you are in a conversation. So you could use this, for example, if you are You have a profile within Cognigy, and someone is coming to a website, performing some actions on the website, and based on these actions, you want to personalize the next conversation you are having with that user on Alexa or on Facebook Messenger. So you can inject information into the user profile, and the next time the user talks with Cognigy or with your bot, Cognigy will know this information and can personalize the conversation based on it. We've also added configurable timeouts. So previously in Cognigy, we had hard timeouts for HTTP requests, for example. So HTTP requests timed out after 8 seconds. But what we've learned is that many of our enterprise customers use legacy systems that might have longer response times than 8 seconds for HTTP calls. So we've made those configurable for whole environments and organizations within environments. Last but not least, it's only a small point here at the bottom, but I think it's one of the biggest points for our developer community. Custom modules are now here for everyone, which means they work on all of our environments. Custom modules are JavaScript modules that you can build and upload into the Cognigy system, and they will be exposed as nodes within the Cognigy Flow editor. These previously only worked on on-premise solutions, but now they are working on every one of our solutions. You do not need to go through pre-approval from Cognigy because we found a secure way to run them in context, but yet in their own processes and virtual machines. So even if the modules are trying to shut down the system, they don't have a way of doing that, which is great because it's hyper secure and it still allows for unlimited customization of the system. So summarized, we've seen a lot of things today. We've looked at the translated user interface of Cognigy, which is now available in English, German, Spanish, and Japanese. We've also looked at the enhanced natural language understanding, which now supports Chinese. We've looked at the fantastic new Webchat, which doesn't just look slick, but it can actually be modified or enhanced by developers to your liking. We've looked at Cognigy tokens, the ability to create dynamic content for business users, and we've spent quite a while looking at advanced processes of how easy it is to create business process automation through conversational interfaces with Cognigy AI. And last but not least, we've looked at some of our new enterprise features like single sign-on, centralized logging, and many others. And with that, we're coming to the end of the presentation. Cognigy will be available from April 11th. So Cognigy 3.3 will be available from April 11th in both the on-premise and SaaS versions. All right. Well, that is it for today. Thank you very much, everyone. I can see there are still questions being posted, and we are going to address them after the webinar on email. Feel free to contact us at any time. You find our phone numbers and the email address here on the screen. We would love to hear from you. We would love to hear feedback on Cognigy.AI 3.3. We'd love to hear feedback on the presentation today. And of course, we do work with our customers and partners a lot. We don't believe that we can build the best conversational AI platform just hiding away in a closet and tinkering on it. We do need your feedback. So please reach out. We're happy to hear input, and we're happy to take that into consideration for the upcoming versions. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for your continued support. Looking forward to seeing what you have to say. Thank you.